We've got one commissioner on the way, but we've got a quorum, so we'll get going with the
Walking in the door.
formalities. Put your hands together for Caleb. All right. All right, so we're calling the meeting to order. The November Board of Fair Commissioners meeting, Tuesday, November 12th. And as for information for our audience, if you're not satisfied with the decision made by the Metropolitan Board of Fair Commissioners today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the board's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, you should please be advised that you should contact your own independent legal counsel. Okay, we've got the minutes from October 8th. They have been circulated to the board. We've got them in front of us for any comments, questions, or approval. Take a motion to approve if everybody's read them.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved as submitted. And we move on to public comment time. If anybody has any comments at this time, we do have a mic at the podium. I don't see anybody jumping up, so we can keep going. Move on to monthly reports. Felicia Bowman, please, with financial report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As of today, June 30, 2019 is still not officially closed, so you do not have financials here for the end of the fiscal year. I have numbers for you for the period ending September 30th, 2019. The period ending October 31st is still open and being closed by downtown. So we have numbers through September 30th. Revenue through September 30th, 2019, $594,552. That revenue does not include $225,719, and that breaks down to $875 due from the Speedway, $11,843 building rentals that are still outstanding, and then $85,000 from State Fair, which we have received but will be reported in the October numbers. Expenses through September 30th, 2019, $834,931, which is a net loss of $240,379. And that number, again, does not include the $225,719 that's outstanding. Depreciation through September 30th, $30,210. The breakdown for expenses of the $834,000, payroll makes up the bulk, $444,504. Utilities, $145,419. Purchase services, $25,146. Supplies, $38,538. Communications, $6,341. Temporary services, $26,581. Security services, $23,943. IT services, $32,192. And then insurance permits and low cap, $92,267, which makes up the $834,931. Again, you do not have the dashboards. I have attached with this sheet for you all to see the breakdown in all of the revenue and expenses in trial balance form. They are still working on creating reports with the new R12 system. So I'm hoping that they can create something that will break it down monthly so we would be able to have the same format as you are used to seeing. But for right now, this is all that I could print out for you so that you could have something to see with regards to revenue and expenses for State Fair or Fairgrounds. Any questions?
Yeah, what is credit card clearing?
Credit card clearing, the charges hit there before we can break it down into the individual expense categories, so it will show there first. So some months before I can reconcile at the end of the month and charge it back to each individual line item, it will hit there in a lump sum.
Okay. So there's no actual budget line, it's just
Yes, so yeah, we have the individual charges, and every month I go in and charge it back to the expense line.
Okay, I got you.
Yes.
Anybody
Yes.
else, questions, or?
The $11,843, is that sort of standard payments that were due, or are they overdue payments that are due?
That's payments at the end of the year. That's usually, we accrue, not the end of the year, end of the month. We accrue them every month. They just didn't get accrued in September.
Okay.
So normally they would show up in this total. That's why I have them in the sidebar. So next month, it will be inside that total.
Okay.
And it's normal, end of the month things that we don't get the checks in before we close the books.
Got it, okay.
For events that occurred during the month.
Just a general question for either, any early signs of the first couple of months in the new facility expenses that may be different than forecast, either for the positive or the negative? Are we still getting our sea legs there?
We are. I think that's going to take a little bit to get pictured. Oftentimes with projects like these, the initial utility bills remain with the project until substantial completion, and those are assigned over to the Fairgrounds. So it's going to take, I think we'll need a good quarter under our belts to see what those actual charges are once all the construction is completed.
Okay, anybody else? If not, we can move on to the executive director's report.
I just have one thing. I'll kind of reserve my comments for the remaining agenda. Last board meeting, Commissioner McAnally and I were charged with working on a curfew policy. We are continuing to work on that, so I did not put it on the agenda for this board meeting, but we'll continue to work on that and hopefully get something put together for your review through the next couple weeks so we can consider it at the next board meeting.
Okay. Well, then let's move on to the agenda items, and I think we're going to bump up the Fairgrounds Public Art Project. So welcome. We can discuss that now. Good morning. Good morning.
I'm Ann Leslie Owens with Metro Nashville Arts Commission. I'm the interim public art manager. With me today is Attilio Murga. We are so pleased that we are part of the process for bringing public art to the fairgrounds. We'd also like to thank Aaron McAnally, who is serving on our selection panel. It's very important to us that after the artist is selected, that stakeholders will have a chance to work with the artist on concept development. So to give you an update and tell you more about this process, I'm going to turn it over to Attilio, and I think you all have packets as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm going to speak about two phases that we're going to go through for the next year, but the primary update is going to be on phase one, which is the large iconic artwork installation, which is going to be handled by one artist. As you may remember, the project budget is going to be $650,000. The total submissions that we received were 126 artists. So our panel went through and identified 5 semifinalists and selected 5 semifinalists in September. The panels consisted of community leaders, area business owners, and technical advisors from GHP, Hawkins Partners, the Fairgrounds Board, and the Sports Authority. In December, coming up, we've been working with Laura. The semifinalists will have the opportunity to visit the fairgrounds and also have a briefing with other technical advisors. And then the following day, we will conduct our final interviews, which will be on December 4th, with our panelists. The selected artists will also work closely with Metro Arts and the stakeholders to develop the site design and proposal after the contract is in place. Hopefully that would be in late December. The next phase that we're speaking about would be our next steps, which is phase 2, which is smaller scale integrated artwork installations, which can consist of multiple artists from the Nashville area and surrounding areas. Metro Arts is drafting the call for the local artists and regional artists. The scope selection process is still to be determined, but we're working with our stakeholders to determine which areas and how we're going to implement that artwork. And we expect to release the call in February of 2020. Now, the 5 semifinalists that were selected were Ed Carpenter of Portland, Oregon, Mark Bornez of Brooklyn, New York, Cliff Garton of Venice, California, Blessing Hancock from Tucson, Arizona, and Po Shu Wang from Berkeley, California. I'm going to now go through each artist just to give you a quick briefing description about their artwork, and you'll see some of the images in your packet. Ed Carpenter is an artist. He specializes in large-scale public installations, ranging from architectural sculpture to infrastructure design. Mark Bornez describes his artwork as specializing in large-scale, site-specific structures that unify skin, support, and experience into a single system. Cliff Garton describes his work as inclusive, encourages moments for private reflection, creating shared community spaces, and invigorates the natural environment. Blessing Hancock describes her artwork as an exploration of light, shadow, and color as ever-changing components of the public art experience. And last but not least, is Po Shu Wang. Wang is a cross-disciplinary artist that brings together art, science, to the community environment into his artwork. Now, I do want to echo what Ann Leslie mentioned earlier. I can't thank enough the shareholders that have been working with us, such as Aaron from the board, GHP, Ron, and Aaron, and Michelle Scopel. And I think this process is going to go really, really smoothly. Aaron, I'm not sure if you wanted to add on anything on how the process went, but I'm very excited to have this final selection, and I think we're going to have a great success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you give us a little more example or more details about what an integrated artwork means? Or
Sure. So one of the things that we're trying to do is identify which areas in the fairgrounds we can implement this artwork. So for example, let's say down the street, down in Benton Avenue, if there's going to be some integrated artwork going down the street or into, let's say, some of the structures. There's one discussion, maybe just an awning. Maybe the artist would design some sort of artistic expression of what representation of what Nashville is. And that's why one thing that our main focus is going to be the artists that come directly from our area. So then they would be able to implement what Nashville is into the fairgrounds.
Was the large-scale projects, was that only local and regional?
That was a national call to artists, but I don't know exactly the number, but we did receive a lot of local entries and also a lot of people that were from Tennessee that moved on. So we were excited to see that we did get a lot of locals, submit.
And lastly, will this be the extent of all the public art funds, these two projects, or will there be more?
At this time, unless there'll be discussion later, I'm not sure if you touched upon it.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is as much as the commission has approved, but certainly if there's, that could be discussed further.
Thank you.
There's more interest.
On the large-scale project, what were the priorities that the panel was looking for as they determined the semifinalists, and what will their priorities be as they determine the finalists?
Well, we set some standards. One of the biggest ones is obviously community engagement, how the artist, and they were supposed to submit a letter of interest and their bio, and in there they would explain how they worked with the community and how that helped the evolution of their project. Now, that's one thing that's going to be a staple going forward, and that was one thing that was one of the criteria. Aside from that, they looked at their previous artwork. Aside from that, they also looked at the years of experience and also major large projects that they worked before. So even though the artist would probably been really, really well, if they haven't had any experience creating large sculptures, that would probably not help them. Would you like to add
We
anything?
also knew that it was important for the artwork to have a nighttime presence. So I think a lot of artists applied and showed examples that had light elements to them. So that certainly was a consideration for the selection panel. But, like Attilio was saying, we wanted to have artists who were comfortable working on this scale of artwork. So this is certainly going to be a large, iconic artwork. So we wanted artists who were familiar, had similar size projects, and we knew, could do a good job on a project such as this.
One follow-up item, for the next phase 2 projects, would murals be considered as part of integrated?
It certainly could be, but we're looking at all kinds of different options. So we've been working with Hawkins Partners to identifying what those places might be for integrated artwork into the site.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, folks. Okay, Fairgrounds Improvement Project update, please.
Just here. Good morning, board. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
In your packets, you will have a familiar format which you're used to seeing, which is the blue dashboard sheet for Fairgrounds improvements. But I'll give a quick overview. You should actually have 2 sheets this morning. Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, we can, and I apologize. We printed this out on portrait instead of landscape, so you're missing the last columns. So we can get those sent out to you. Well, you should have had them digitally in your packets as well.
And I'll speak to it. By the last column, you just mean the % complete. Is that all that's missing, Laura?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Well, then the majority of information is there and available. So you have 2 sheets this morning. Reason being, recent review with Metro Finance and looking at the funds and the projects that are happening at the fairgrounds and ongoing. One of the suggestions or requests that was made is to show the project budgets without having any type of overlapping funding listed. And so what you'll see now on the blue sheet, it historically has said a grand total of $42 million, with one line item being the infrastructure allocated to the Fair Park project. What you now see is that blue sheet showing $41 million, and now you have the budget for Fair Park, the parts that have been approved and are in process to date on a secondary sheet. So that cleans that up a little bit. So I just wanted to speak to that from an overview standpoint, and just so you know what you're seeing being a little bit different. With that being said, in terms of the improvements at the fairgrounds, not including the fair park. There's about $5.6 million remaining funds there. The bulk of that is in the remaining construction and retainage tied to Expo building, as well as the just over $1 million allocated to the demolition of the existing structures allocated in the budget, and then finally the $830,000 that remains in the grandstands line item for the budget. Any questions on the remaining funds? If not, we're still projected to be on budget with all of those items. One thing that you guys may be missing on your sheet for construction, where we are to date, 91% complete, and again, that's based off of things that are about 45 days or so in arrears. So understanding that what's actually happened is much further, and you're going to end up being much closer to the high 90s, especially as we start to release retainage for the subcontractors that are performed on that project. Again, very end of the road there with design, 97% complete there. FF&E is moving slowly. Again, that's something that is going to be updated fairly quickly as more and more things flow through and get put into the building. Our team, as well as Laura and her staff, have monitored that very closely. A lot of the things that are in there are related to IT, security, and access, which are ongoing, and bills are being paid. But again, this is about 30 to 45 days behind what you're seeing now in terms of what work has actually been done. Project management and related, 75%. Again, feel very comfortable with the budget amount that's there in terms of tracking along with the project. And then you still see a very small project contingency under the Expo building, just dollars there to get us across the finish line. Our hopes is that we will not need that to be allocated to anything in that area, and it will be funds that Laura can utilize as she needs. I already mentioned the demolition line item, $1,047,500. Work is yet to commence there, so no movement. And again, addressing grandstands, very little movement since you've seen me last month. So you still have the $830,000 remaining there. As I draw to the bottom of that first page, open it up for questions, and then I'll highlight the Fairgrounds, which is the new sheet that you have in your packet.
Anybody with questions?
Okay, no questions there. So that second sheet, Fair Park, I just want to be very clear that is what has been called or termed in certain circles Phase 1 of Fair Park. And so if you think about what you go out there and you see today, it's inclusive of all of that work. And the remaining budget there, just under $700,000, that's tied to the anticipated scope of removing and demolishing the Elections Commission building, and then the scope to place that into its naturalized park state, which is what's been designed and what's planned. There are a couple other things that have been happening there and are still happening in that budget. A few ADA adjustments have been ongoing, as well as looking at certain things like sunshades and any type of outstanding warranty items and ongoing maintenance for that area are all rolled into that number. So tight budget there, not a lot of fat in that one for sure. And of course, still waiting on the green light from General Services before we can start anything in terms of demolition and abatement at the Elections Commission building. Any questions?
Any questions?
All right. If not, I'll turn it over to Ron.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. The Expo building is essentially complete. We're still tuning it. There's still some punch list items, some other things that are being taken care of. I think the staff has done an excellent job of adapting to the new facilities, and we're still continuing to, and as we anticipated, find things that we can tweak a little bit to make it even better. Ed mentioned what we're calling Phase 1B of Fair Park, the Elections Commission building. Once that's approved for demolition, that's scheduled to happen. We have a multi-purpose building that's going to be for mainly the maintenance facilities and some storage areas. That's yet to be started, and then the demolition project. We're working with the new administration to update them on all the various projects out here, and while they're going through the evaluation process, we've hit the pause button on those projects, so they'll have everything and we can sit down and go with a coordinated effort in that area. The soccer stadium is at 35% design phase. It's been priced by the construction managers. We're going through an extensive and very detailed value engineering review of that. Those items, it's going to be an exciting facility, but those items are still under evaluation over the next 2 or 3 weeks before we tell the design team to proceed. The infrastructure project, which is primarily Benton and Wedgewood, including the bridge, it's at 30% of design. We're currently evaluating that. We've met with planning. We met with Public Works. We'll be meeting with NES and trying to go through the value engineering process on that. Again, in 2 or 3 weeks, we hope to give the go-ahead for the design team to take it to the next level, and we hope to bid that work sometime in the spring. So that's an overview of all the projects. Have any questions?
Do we have an update on Verizon in the new buildings?
I haven't been working directly with Verizon.
We do. ITS is working on getting a design and estimate for a DAS system, so it's going to require some additional antenna, a multi-service antenna, so it's not just Verizon, it's all cell services. In the meantime, if your phone's activated for Wi-Fi calling, we've all been using it, and it works really well in the building.
That's one of the tuning things that's in the process.
Hey, Ron, do you, with this early cold weather, is that going to affect any of the turf or the landscaping that you put in?
We don't believe so. I think it's going to be fine. The dry September was not good, but we're working around all that. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to the contract with Formosa Productions.
All right, I will give you just a general update on where we are since the last meeting. I will remind the board of the motion and the approval and the authorization that the board granted in October. The motion was that reserving all rights under the current contract and in no way waiving any rights or breaches therein, and specifically subject to the ongoing breaches for mispayments that have been discussed today, I would move that the board would approve an amendment to allow the currently due payments be made by December 31st, 2019, with the statement that we request immediate meetings with Formosa Productions to renegotiate and complete the negotiations for the term of the contract. Additionally, if you recall, Commissioner Bergeron was appointed by unanimous vote to represent the board in these discussions. Myself, along with Commissioner Bergeron and our Metro attorney, Susan Jones, met with Mr. and Ms. Formosa and their attorney, Jim Roberts, on Monday, October 14th. The meeting concluded with the Formosas agreeing to provide the following information either prior to the follow-up meeting or at the follow-up meeting so we can continue discussions. We discussed a red line or separate listing of the terms in the existing executed contract that they would have liked to see renegotiated with proposed changes. Also, records or metrics from previous 2019 races, including paid attendance numbers and revenue, and then attendance numbers and revenue from the 2019 All-American 400 when they were received. This request for records is allowable in our current contract under Section 8.9, Maintenance of Records and Audits. A contract amendment was drafted per the Fair Board's direction. It was the intention of myself and Attorney Jones to review it at the October 28th meeting, which was the meeting that was scheduled following the October 14th meeting, to obtain necessary signatures to start that execution. Immediately following the October 14th meeting, we did send an invitation to a follow-up meeting for the 28th. We did receive notification the day before that meeting indicating that Mr. Roberts and the Formosas were unavailable to meet on the 28th and asked to reschedule. It was also indicated that they didn't have time to address the issues, so the postponement was requested for either November 6th or 7th. We went ahead and rescheduled for Wednesday, November 6th at 3 p.m. and was notified 40 minutes before the meeting that Mr. Roberts was unavailable in Knoxville and that they wanted to reschedule the meeting for either this afternoon or tomorrow. As a result of that, knowing that the Fair Board meeting was scheduled for this morning, we declined to reschedule so that we could have further direction from the board this morning. So in short, no progress has been made. We have yet to receive the records that we had requested on the 14th, and we have not executed the amendment nor gotten any direction from them regarding any renegotiation points for the existing contract. Since October 12th, we had been contacted by several individuals. One, we had received a call from an attorney seeking information from Metro regarding a civil judgment that was against FSN, which is Fairgrounds Speedway Nashville, and Tony Formosa Jr. on May 10th, 2018. They contacted us and scheduled a conference call with both Metro Legal and Procurement and myself to talk about the RFP process. And the case itself is a judgment against them for $122,068.94. That case is in your packet if you have any questions on that. They are asking that they be held liable for the amount of that judgment. On October 31st, I received an unsolicited email from an individual stating that they had provided a service to the Formosas and had not received payment. According to the email, which is attached, a payment of $1,034.28 is past due for 2 robocalls sent on their behalf in July of 2019, and they are seeking payment for that amount. I will remind you of the options. The Fair Board, as I mentioned earlier, you did approve a motion in October authorizing us to amend the current contract with an extended pay date. That option certainly is on the table. The draft amendment is in your packet for review. Renegotiate the entire contract. Again, we attempted that, but have made no progress. Termination for convenience, which would be a 90-day notice, and then termination for breach, which would be certainly your discretion on timing. That's an update. I don't know if Commissioner Bergeron has any other points from those meetings.
I think that's a good summary. I don't have anything right now, but I may have some comments in a little while.
Well, disappointing we haven't made any progress. Anybody have any opening comments or suggestions here?
I think at the last meeting, we wanted to see how the All-American 400 went, let that go ahead, just so we don't make a bad situation even worse by not giving them an opportunity to bring in some new revenue. But I too echo what the chairman said. I am disappointed that there's been no progress.
Yeah, and one thing we talked about during the meeting that we did have back on the 14th was trying to get to even begin to renegotiate we needed a couple things. One, we needed to know what the contract, what they were looking for. And two, one thing I was really pushing for was some metrics, right? I wanted to understand, especially over the course of 2019, what paid race attendance looks like. It's hard to dial down into the weeds of understanding if the contract is financially structured appropriately without understanding, okay, what is really paid attendance? Might get a mention in the Tennessee sports sector saying X number of people attended. Well, we don't know what that actually connects to for what was really paid for each ticket and with that. So there was an intent there on October 14th to start to get some metrics, and we just haven't gotten anything. And that's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I'll just echo the other commissioners' comments. I'm disappointed. My personal comments last meeting was made pretty clear that I was expecting to have something pretty firm coming back to the board this meeting, and I feel like we were operating in good faith and the other party was not. That in light of the other information brought to light with the other judgments, it just just shows that that have little to no faith that will be paid by the end of the year, which begs to the issue that we need to start looking to the future and what we need to do as a board to ensure there is racing next year. The current vendor can't fill their obligations as put forth in the contract. So I think that's what I would love to know from other board members. What their thoughts are on the next direction we should be taking.
Well, time is of the essence, obviously, to plan for next year. I think everybody in the racing community would want to know that there's going to be a season and who's going to be leading the charge as far as getting the races put together and promoted and run efficiently. And likewise, we want to know who we're working with. So it's, mid-November here. We got to get a move on. Anybody have any suggestions on these options? Or
Laura, do you have a sense of what the landscape looks like as far as other promoters being able to step in if that needed to become an option?
I'm confident that we can put a season together. Yes.
Laura, can you go through the options you laid forth for us, please?
So the board, again, has several options. The first one is to continue to work with the Formosas in amending their contract to, again, allow for the payment of past due items to the end of the year of December 31st, 2019. That amendment is prepared, and again, it's in your packet for your consideration. The second option certainly is to execute the amendment and continue meeting with the Formosas to renegotiate their contract to continue through the remaining term of their 60-month contract, which is about 3.5 years left. There are two termination clauses in the current contract. One is for breach, and one is for termination for convenience. Essentially, it's a 90-day notice in which we could just decide to cease our contractual relationship and move forward. Please.
I do want to add, just so that it's clear for the board, option number 1, amending the current contract based on the motion approved October 12, 2019, is not it's not mutually exclusive, or number 3 is not mutually exclusive to number 1, neither is number 2 to number 1. In other words, you don't have to, you can still go forward with that amendment as it relates to those monies that were due and still exercise either 2 or 3. You could also, you could rescind that because we have not executed the contract. So I don't want you to think that you have to do away with number 1 if you exercise number 2 or 3. Neither do I want you to think that you are bound by number 1 because the motions of the board are subject to being rescinded at a later meeting if that is the prerogative of the board. But again, you can still exercise 2 or 3 and leave number 1 intact, and we'll go forward with that amendment that's drafted in your packet, assuming that you have no other additions to that. Does that?
So we could extend the payment date to say we want to receive payment for all past due amounts by the end of the year, but we could also then say, in addition, we're terminating for convenience.
You certainly could.
We could.
That still puts us pretty late, though, 90 days from now.
My understanding from speaking with Susan is that a 90-day notice gives us the opportunity to go out and solicit proposals or go ahead and schedule for 2019. We wouldn't have to wait until the conclusion of the 90 days.
Mr. Chairman, while the board's been made aware of several instances of breach where there has been no effort to cure, and while it is our express intent not to waive any remedy which might be sought for any breach in light of our prior motion to allow Mr. Formosa to pay all his rents and lease payments by December 31st, 2019, I hereby offer this motion. I move that we terminate this contract with FSN Formosa Productions pursuant to Section 5.3 of their contract by providing 90 days notice today of termination and requiring the premises to be vacated to allow the board to explore what viable racing options may exist.
Okay, so everybody catch that motion? We need a second, yeah?
A second so that we can discuss.
Caleb, do you mind repeating that, please?
Sure. I move that we terminate the contract with FSN Formosa Productions pursuant to Section 5.3 of their contract by providing 90 days notice today of termination and requiring the premises to be vacated to allow the board to explore what viable racing options may exist.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, so we're open for discussion on the topic.
Chairman Horton, we might be able to address the committee before it votes on this?
Yes, sir. Yes, you may.
Jim Roberts on behalf of Formosa Productions. Before this committee votes, I'd like to actually address it quickly. One, the notice for this meeting was posted, said this meeting would be postponed and canceled if the school system delayed, based on the announcement from the schools, the delay of school starting today due to the inclement weather. I was notified at 5:18 this morning that Metro schools would be late and this meeting was not going to occur. I was later notified that it was going to be delayed until 10:15. Before this committee does anything substantive, I would note that I believe that this meeting is in violation of the Open Meetings Act and the proper notice procedures. I appreciate your dedication to try to have this meeting held today, but I do not believe a 10:15 meeting meets that criteria under state law. Part of the reason we're at a disadvantage here is that I met with the Formosas yesterday, And in fact, Claire Formosa has some of my documents that I gave her thinking I would be able to address this committee. And she based her decision to do other things this morning based on the original announcement the meeting would be canceled. I did as well, but was able to get over here at the last minute. So I'm a little bit of a disadvantage. Ms. Womack brought up an attorney, apparently, who I'm in a litigation with, decided to call up the board and badmouth my client. He will be held accountable for that, I assure you. I would like this board to know that that is not Formosa Productions that's being sued, and it is a prior entity, and that case is on appeal. And this board, and especially Ms. Womack, should understand that I have a little experience in the appellate process, and I expect a favorable result. So to hold that against my client, a non-final judgment would be inappropriate. The invoice that Ms. Womack referred to, she did not provide a copy as far as I can tell. It is my understanding that, one, that invoice has been paid, and two, that the only reason that invoice wasn't paid is that it was sent to a former employee's email address, and when it was brought to Mr. Formosa's attention, he paid it within about 24 hours. Those two issues should not be considered by this board today. We have tried to work with, and we appreciate this board's willingness to talk about renegotiating this contract. I would ask you to keep in mind that the contract that Formosa Productions signed by this board, or with this board, was not fulfilled by this board. In fact, many of the things promised to Formosa Productions were not forthcoming, such as the use of the facilities, the Walsh building being built. None of those things were included in that contract. So when we talk about breaches of the contract, we should be mindful of the fact that the circumstances changed, and what could be construed as a breach on either party's part could be identified. I don't think we should be too hasty in light of the situation here today. We are still wanting to sit down. I apologize. I went to Knoxville. When we set that meeting last week, I asked for it to be later in the afternoon because I was coming back from Knoxville. I thought I had given plenty of time, and I apologize. I got held up. Did not make it back. But since the circumstances have changed, as here at the Fairgrounds, both to the Speedway and to this board, it seems reasonable to me that we continue to have discussions. It has come to my attention that there are some sales tax issues. It's come to my attention that there are commission payments that have not been paid. And if you recall, we were here back in April, and there was an issue about some concessions percentages not being paid. And I pointed out to this board that the contract did not require them to be paid. So there are many things that need to be discussed. I would ask this board not to be too hasty. The last race, fortunately, the weather was cooperative with the 400. It was a very successful race. In fact, I think this board should be proud of the job that was done by the Formosas. It was a fabulous event. Cars came, my understanding, all the way from Canada to come participate in this race. In fact, they almost had too many participants. That's the sort of quality racing that we want to see at this track. It's been a tough year, weather-wise, for the Formosas, but this is a true jewel in the crown of Davidson County. So let's not be too hasty on that. I would ask this board, in light of the notice issues that may be raised, to defer any action to its next meeting. And if it feels that it needs to go forward with such a motion, it can do so. But it would be unfortunate if something as simple as proper notice wasn't followed, and that caused a problem. That's all I can ask. Thank you. Unless you have some questions.
Does anybody have questions? No, thanks. Can we ask our counsel about the notice for the meeting?
Certainly.
The meeting was noticed to take place today at 9 o'clock. The normal operating hours for the Fairgrounds, as I understand it, is to begin work at 8 o'clock. It has been the practice. I'm not sure that there is a policy specifically, but certainly it has been the practice over a number of years for the board to essentially mimic whatever MMPS does with regard to inclement weather. In this instance, MMPS did not cancel, and this meeting was not canceled because MMPS did not close. If in following the practice that has been the practice over a number of years, MMPS had closed, then today's meeting, as I understand it, following that practice, would have been canceled because MMPS was closed. But today, MMPS was delayed by 2 hours. And so, being that the workday starts for the fairgrounds at 8 o'clock, a 2-hour delay would result in the fairgrounds being open at 10 o'clock. And this meeting, I think, has been set at this point for 10:15 in light of that. So, again, and under state law, what is required is not necessarily a specific period of time, but certainly adequate public notice is what is required. And it appears that the board has met that under the law as required.
Yeah, my question, like for example, on the website, Christy, maybe you know this, would it say essentially what you reminded us of yesterday? So it says if Metro schools are out or late, well, the Board of Fair Commissioners will follow the Metro Public Schools weather policy. If Metro schools are out or late, the Fair Board meeting will be postponed. So we were postponed, but by 2 hours, same as the school system. So that's what occurred today. Yeah. But regardless, in my opinion, my personal opinion, we have enough information in front of us to take some action. And I think we do need to take some action because we have to make a plan for next year. And it seems like we need to do something quickly.
Yeah, I don't see us missing. I mean, we're missing information we've been missing, which is we need information we would get twice requested at the meetings I was going to have with staff and with Foremotion Productions, and we're still missing that information, and we still don't really have much clarity. Albeit, and I would note for the Foremost Productions is represented by counsel here at this meeting today. So their attorneys here. I'm frustrated that we haven't gotten constructive information to have constructive discussions. I felt like we were really clear on what we needed to see, and so I'm really frustrated.
And to be fair, this past month was not the first time we've asked for that.
No.
Needed discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I respectfully disagree with Mr. Roberts' comment referencing April, because I think I certainly was pretty clear in April that they were struggling at the time we needed to meet, and we put that on the table repeatedly to try to meet back then, and that message was delivered really clearly back at that time. There were talks we should have met back then, and there was nothing forthcoming from FSN in that regard, and that's all. I think that's kind of indicative of the problem here. And now we're in a really tough spot. It's November, and we've got to have races on the schedule for 2020. We've got to know that's going to happen, and there's just so many question marks that have piled up about the current operator.
Well, we've got several pieces of this puzzle that we have to resolve. We have a year plus of somewhat bad luck, bad weather that we've heard about, changes at the facility, and we were willing to have discussions about that. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of rent that's not been paid, and we don't have a plan a collaborative plan to resolve that with, our partner at the racetrack. So That has to be resolved, the funding that's owed to the facility. And we sent, as you said, several trial balloons that we're willing to sit down and renegotiate, because if a contract isn't going to work, it's not going to work for anybody.
Yeah, a couple comments on that point. You know, there have definitely been some weather issues this year, but as was noted in our discussions and as was admitted by Ms. Formosa in our meeting on October 14th, there are still money owed for the previous year. And also, SMI, as part of its attempts to get into this discussion, paid $100,000 to the Formosas, which was used to make up a gap last year. That's the only reason why there's not a bigger gap for the previous year. And so I think that that's indicative of a repeat financial problem that needs to be understood. I'm also very concerned that during that October 14th meeting, it was confirmed by the Formosas that SMI has been encouraging them not to book events. And that's a really concerning fact pattern for that entity's involvement in default here, because one issue we talked about was that the number of nights provided to the contract for non-racing events, which everybody had been very optimistic about, have not been utilized very much. And one of the pieces of information we provided is SMI has been encouraging them not to book events. That's a whole other problem. But I think that we've got a multi-year issue here, in the kind of contract, weather issues aside, and that's. I think that's led us to a real. I think that we probably would have been here sooner for last year, but for SMI's payment, there would have been a larger rent, a larger shortfall carried over from last year.
Can you clarify? You're saying SMI is asking for most of productions to not come on.
Ms. Formosa and Mr. Formosa both stated that SMI had been telling them not to book events, and encouraging them not to book events under their current contract. That's a whole other issue we can take another day. But that's concerning. I don't know what the end game is there on that, but that's a concerning fact that came out on October 14th. I don't know why you would encourage. I don't know why you would hurt Metro like that.
Well, and that problem should have been brought to us anyways, if that was happening.
Yeah, that was the first time I heard it on October 14th.
I think actually we'd be doing everybody a positive service to terminate this contract for convenience. Still doesn't mean we can't sit down and resolve the issue of the funds that are owed to the facility and talk about that. Quite frankly, if we put out another RFP, we need to get a season going for next year. We can take into account what we've learned with the terms of this recent one, set some realistic parameters, and maybe try to make a quick decision for next year. Doesn't mean there's anybody excluded from making a proposal for next year or beyond. But we do kind of need to wrap this up and get it behind us and move forward. I mean, I think when we put this agreement together, we were hopeful to get away from the 1 year after 1 year agreements, and we're looking for more of a long-term solution. Now, we certainly didn't have a crystal ball and know that there'd be other things discussed and planned for at this facility by the city of Nashville. That wasn't in the cards for us. It didn't emanate from this board.
Yeah, but there hasn't been anything concrete that's a problem. I want to note that Ms. Formosa noted during our meetings, like they said they basically weren't aware of a lot of the terms of the contract.
My point being, And then there's other things circling around and discussions of how do we, have a bigger grandstand, other parties that are looking at the racetrack.
Sure.
There's a lot of activity here that didn't come from us.
Yeah.
That puts us back and we're here in a situation again where we probably need to consider a short term, make sure we have a good or great racing season next year, and go back to, seeing where the dust settles with all these other things that are going on. I thought we were through that
Well, that's an interesting idea.
a few years ago, but now we're like, okay, well, we better just take it one step at a time, make sure we have, great racing next year, best we can, and
Yeah, and maybe if under the current motion, we have not altered the previously approved motion, right, to give them 12/31.
That's correct.
that's
I
correct.
mean, I'm even of the mind that if we get paid up and we move forward and look, and Formosa Productions comes forward and just to continue on and solidify that, fine. If they can pull the 2020, but yeah, it may be the best thing to terminate for convenience. So that might be the safest way
I think it might
to ensure that there's racing next year. That way we know for sure when we are moving forward with the schedule next year, we have an operator that doesn't carry risks. I understand Mr. Roberts' comments that some of the litigation is subject to appeal, but that's an awfully big risk of a judgment and successor or fraudulent conveyance type lawsuit hanging out there. It's a risk. I'm not saying it's a finalized judgment and proceedings there, but it's certainly a risk. And I think that if we, echoing the chairman's comments, it may be better for convenience and ensuring that there is racing that we do this, and then if Formosa Productions wants to be the promoter for 2020, they certainly will have an opportunity to do so. It just seems like maybe that is indeed the best way to ensure there is actually a racing schedule, which is, I think, everybody's intent here.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything we've come to very hastily, and appreciate Commissioner Bergeron's comments that, this is something that's been a many months or even year-long process coming to, and, at the end of the day, we've asked for information, we've asked to, have good faith discussions, and then we've also asked to be paid accordingly to the contract, and none of those things have happened. So, my motion is actually, very pro-racing. It is to ensure there's racing. I think after we vote on that, I'll, depending on the outcome, make another motion in regards to having Laura look for options moving forward to do so. But, I agree with both of your comments as part of our fiduciary duty as board member, as well as, her other responsibilities, to ensure there is racing going forward next year in that in the facility, that we'll need to prepare accordingly. And as right now, I don't think any of us have any faith that this vendor can move forward with that in terms of paying us and upholding the contract that was put forth and signed and agreed to by both parties. With that, renew my motion.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. Yeah, if you don't mind, Caleb, one last time, just reading your motion and we can vote on it.
Sure thing. I move that we terminate this contract with FSN Formosa Productions pursuant to Section 5.3 by providing 90 days notice today of termination and requiring the premises be vacated to allow the board to explore what viable racing options may exist.
Okay. Ready for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The motion carries. All right. Any other discussion on matters at hand related to this?
I'd love to get your opinion, I guess, or legal and your opinion on moving forward. I know, we need to make some official motion regarding giving Laura, our direction in terms of seeking new options, but for raising, we're just kind of curious process.
Something else could pass like a resolution? What can we do right now, Susan, to?
Can I jump in just for a second?
Yeah.
Now? Before that, though, I think we also have to make sure we stay on track to negotiate, as we said, by December 31st. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, there's no further negotiation on the December 31st payment. The board took action on that at the last meeting, so that's out there. The only thing that needs to happen is it needs to be signed by all of the parties and filed with the clerk to make it an official amendment to the existing contract. That can still move forward. The board did not rescind its motion, so that's still out there. Does that answer your question as it relates to that? Because there's nothing really left to negotiate on that. The board has already taken action. And the termination isn't.
I do think, I think there is some room to wrap that up.
Is there any, are there any, do you find the draft that is in your packet acceptable, or are there changes that you would like to see to that draft?
What are our options if we don't receive payment by December 31st?
If you don't receive payment, well, I mean, I think the board preserved its options under the contract to pursue remedies that might be available to it for breach. Those were specifically they were specifically preserved in Commissioner Bergeron's motion. So just typical breach of contract, where we would seek payment and anything that goes along with that on behalf of the board, if that's the pleasure of the board for us to do.
Yeah, I thought the way we proceeded at that meeting was we all recognized we needed to take immediate action on allowing that. Because I made a previous motion that I withdrew, and then the motion we replaced it with was the extensions given to give them the certainty of all American 400. And then we had a statement in the back half that said with the statement that we request immediate meetings to have further negotiations for the remaining term of the contract. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like the payment, they've been given the extension and they have until 12/31. The negotiations haven't worked out for the future of the contract. So, I mean, I think the payment's due 12/31. Unless they don't sign it.
Right.
Right, and then the payment's due overdue.
That would be correct.
And with the second motion, we've taken further action to terminate under a different provision for convenience. So.
Right.
Does that termination, does that hold us, or basically can we call breach if they don't pay out if we terminated for convenience, is what I'm saying, if we don't receive?
Yes, that's a great question. I actually was waiting on someone to ask that. So what you did today was you provided the 90-day notice of termination. So the termination is not actually effective until 90 days out from today, because we have to give 90 days notice under the contract. That being said, the payment for December 31st will occur before the contract itself terminates. So you have not, by taking action today, you have not done anything to undo your prior action, at which time you've reserved your rights to sue or whatever may be, whatever relief you might seek under the contract, on just straight up breach of contract theory, potentially, and any other specifics outlined in the contract with regard to that. So you haven't taken any action today that would be adverse to that, because again, that December 31st deadline will hit before the termination and the vacation of the premises actually takes place. This is today, what you did was provide notice as required under the contract.
I guess my point is I would like to see some attempts to wrap it up in a more collaborative fashion so that we're done. And then if they wanted to throw their hat in the ring for next year, we could do that.
My only question would be what collaborative attempts would be
I mean,
are
we
there
still
two?
ask for metrics and, discussion on,
The request is out there, respectfully.
Yeah.
I want to say respectfully, Your Honor, the request is out there. Respectfully, Mr. Chair, the request is out there and certainly can be met by the contractor at any time. Certainly, we wouldn't turn away any information that they would want to share with us concerning the information that we've already requested.
Yeah, I mean, it's towards the end of making the payment. We've already given them the extension.
Right.
If they want to provide further information and ask for something different, I guess that's on them to ask for something different than 1231. We gave them what they asked for, which was 1231. At this point now, if they're asking to ask for something different, I think that they know who to contact. They can contact the executive director. We can't give them something more than they already asked for. We gave it to them.
okay, all right, so hopefully there'll be some communication there. And then the next topic is what to do about having a, productive season next year.
Yeah, Susan, can you explain what happens that the Metro procurement or Laura, now that we've done the 90-day termination?
Right. So an official letter will go out with regard to the board's action taken today, putting the contractor on notice of the termination and the 90 days beginning today based on the direction of the board. As a separate action, if it pleases the board to do so, we can explore and Laura can explore what options may be available in the way of procuring a contractor for the upcoming season. You have authority to contract for amusement purposes as it relates to the fairgrounds. Now, that means that your contracts for amusement purposes are not necessarily bound to Title IV of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, which is the procurement code. The procurement code prescribes certain steps that need to be taken in the way of procuring contracts on behalf of the metropolitan government. However, since you have independent authority under the private act that creates this particular board, you have authority outside of Title IV. Okay? All that to say, you all last time availed yourselves of the tried and true method and procurement process that was available to all Metro departments, and you went through that procurement process under Title IV, but you were not necessarily required to do it that way. That's just how you chose to do it, because they had a good system, and it just seemed like a good way to, instead of recreating the wheel, a good way to see who all was out there, to see who the potential vendors were, to bring that information in, have it assessed, and make a decision. So that being said, you could do that again. We have also seen...
And we had some time. We had a little bit of luxury of time.
Agreed.
And just to refresh memories, we did extend the time multiple times. People asked for more information, asked for extensions, and we were really trying to be fair to let anybody with a valid case to make that they should be the vendor selected. So it was extended a couple times, but we had the luxury of time. I don't know that we have that right now. We did many agreements with Mr. Formosa prior that were just done by the board. I mean, that was the first time we used that process in my tenure here. So.
Right. I think that's correct. So you, again, you're not bound to that process. You can, I mean, many of the shows that come here or many of the events that occur in amusement purposes that take place here are just because we are approached by someone who wants to do it. The time and the space is available, and so we contract directly with them in accordance with the authority under state law. And certainly that's not anything different than what we have done in the past with regard to racing.
Can we ask Laura, what are your, just a lot of that kind of path from where it goes, work outside of procurement, it falls to Laura to really run that process with her staff. And so I guess I'd like to hear some of her thoughts on how she feels about taking that on, tackling it, and one way or another whether, maybe some thoughts on, like, what are your initial thoughts at this moment of, one contract, multiple contracts to get multiple racing events in here? What are you, and what's your comfort level with the Fairgrounds staff's ability to sort of take that responsibility for 2020?
I think what we could do is put together a pretty succinct expectation of what we're looking for and get that out. There are obviously numerous promoters out there. Certainly some have even reached out, interested in having races here. So I don't anticipate any challenge filling the schedule for next year. You have authorized in the past me to go out and procure these services. Again, I don't think it's a requirement, but it might behoove the board to authorize me reaching out and just formally authorizing that process, whether it be by RFP that we do ourselves at the board. I am concerned with timing, so I don't know if necessarily a formal procurement-based RFP is in our future, at least at this point, due to the timing. I mean, we are coming up on the end of the year, so with holidays and such, definitely would not recommend that, but give me some time to at least research what's out there and what our options are.
Along those lines, I think I'd like to propose that we meet in 3 weeks instead of 4, and maybe do the first week of December, right after Thanksgiving. Let's see if we could advance this. Plus, as we get deeper into December, it gets distracting. Does that sound fair? So we could meet in 3 weeks, or we could meet, if we have any other reason to, between now and then, on an emergency basis. But I think getting the word out there, posting it on the website, et cetera.
Just, Mr. Chair, just so that I'm clear on any assistance that I may need to provide to accommodate your request and to follow your instruction, when you say you want to meet 3 weeks from now, is the expectation that at some point a report will be given of what the, I need to understand what exactly, what exactly you envision for that 3-week meeting?
I'm just saying that instead of meeting the second week of December, meet the first week.
Okay.
Just a quicker turnaround. That would be our December meeting.
Okay.
Are you looking to have a report back for a level of interest at that point? I just think Thanksgiving's in between now and then, and that's a lot of pressure on the staff. An extra week might be helpful.
I guess I was envisioning if we decided we wanted to put out an RFP, we could decide that. Or if we had a more informal process to just take proposals.
I'm just of the opinion I'd rather let Laura research it, and if that needs to happen, you can always call a special meeting. We need to move it up, but I don't think don't know what we don't know at this point. I don't know, but I rely more on Laura because she's more keen on those discussions and other racing promoters that have expressed interest. When does the racing season normally start? May?
April, usually April. We've done it in late March as well. Susan, is it a possibility that due to the timing considerations that the board could consider a motion, again, authorizing me to research and procure, no matter whether it be a board-issued RFP? Can we maybe take that step now?
Certainly.
I throw that out for the board's discussion. I understand if you want to meet again. I just am concerned with timing.
Certainly, that's a viable legal option.
motion look like? Does someone want to take a crack at that?
And Lauren, let me make sure I'm understanding also what you're asking for. Are you asking the board to potentially consider a motion to authorize you to explore whatever viable racing options are out there, whether they be RFP or direct contracting? Okay.
And I'd be available to help if you need any meetings or ideas.
Yeah, and I think likewise, I would say that I think when we've learned a great deal over the last few years about this contract, other discussions, I think we have a good idea about some input that we can provide to Laura along the way. But just so I understand, would a resulting contract or contracts come back to the board for further discussion? I don't just try to understand what comes back to us with what we're talking about discussion.
Certainly, you could give that direction. It's really wide open for the board. I mean, you could equip the executive director with the authority to enter into the contract and bring it back, or you could equip her with the authority to go out and ascertain what options are out there and bring those back potentially, or you could equip her with the authority to go out and ascertain that and come back with a proposed contract for your review. So it's really kind of wide open as to how you want her to proceed and what process you want that to take.
Let me take a shot at the motion and see if it works. I'll move that the board authorize the executive director to ascertain potential racing promoter, a potential racing promoter or promoters to operate racing for the 2020 season, and to bring to the board a proposed structure for further consideration and/or negotiation.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Well, I don't think I'd be out of line to thank Tony for his efforts here. I know it's not gone the way you wanted, but I think we do need to figure out what next year looks like and wrap up what's in hand. But yeah, definitely appreciate all your efforts, and I know you've always tried to do the right thing for the racing community, so thank you. Anybody have any other items, new business, any items to discuss?
I may have one.
That's fine.
Well, if she's not going to say it, I'm going to say it. This is going to be the final meeting of that our legal counsel is going to be with us. We found out very recently that our legal counsel is leaving the Metro Legal Department to do some
Explore some other options.
some much better things, I'm sure, than dealing with these commissioners. And I just wanted to make sure that that's properly recognized, because Susan Jones has been a fantastic counsel.
Thank you.
She's a fantastic attorney. She's a great resource for us. She's a great guiding hand. We are so fortunate, and I know I'm not the longest tenured commissioner, and so there are commissioners on here, and this these fairgrounds have benefited from Susan a lot longer than I've been here, and will continue to benefit because of the great guidance she's provided us during all of these very interesting times we've been living in. So I wanted to make sure we properly recognize Susan Jones for all of her service, with best wishes as she takes on new adventures. I just want to make sure that that's properly recognized, because we are so grateful for her.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure to serve you, and I have tried, it's been my goal to provide you with the best legal advice that I could provide you with, and I hope and pray that I have done that. And so I'm grateful for new opportunities on the horizon, and I thank you for your words and your kindness.
I was just going to make a promotion to prevent her from leaving.
Second.
Thank you very much. It's very kind.
Legal to pursue injunctive action.
Shane right there.
Thank you.
We're going to present you with a Fairgrounds coffee cup.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.